نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. Respectful honorable friends, the verses recited are from the opening ruku of Surah Yaseen. Surah Yaseen, which is an auspicious surah of the Qur'an. The entire Qur'an itself is auspicious, and every ayat of the Qur'an is just as important as the other. But the fazilat of Surah Yaseen is one, that even if you do not recite the entire Qur'an, there are many who still recite Surah Yaseen on a regular basis. And the reason of and why there is great fazilat, and one of the fazilats of this surah is that Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam has described Surah Yaseen as being the heart of the Qur'an. And we all know the importance of the heart, how important the heart is, and life is the heart. So life of the Qur'an, the heart of the Qur'an is Surah Yaseen. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi mentions that the reason why this surah has been termed as the heart of the Qur'an is because of the manner in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of the Hashr, the day of resurrection. And the Akhirat is mentioned in it in detail and with great eloquency as well. And for a person to remain fully on track, to carry out the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stay away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, figure of the Akhirat is paramount. So just the way figure of the Akhirat is so important, this surah's importance has also been increased because of what's mentioned in it. From the other fazilat and the virtues of this surah, Maqal bin Yasar radiallahu ta'ala mentions in the hadith that this is the heart of the Qur'an. Whoever recites it will be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Elsewhere in the riwayat with Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala, it is mentioned that whoever recites Surah Yaseen in the evening, he awakens in a state that he is maghfur, that he is forgiven. One riwayat is mentioned of just Surah Yaseen, and another riwayat is mentioned of Surah Yaseen and also Surah Hamim. And that too Surah Hamim, the Surah Hamim with the Dukhan, meaning Surah Hamim Dukhan. That whoever recites these in the evening, they awaken in a state wherein they are forgiven. In another riwayat it is mentioned that whoever recites Surah Yaseen near the one who is on the deathbed, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the demise easy for them. Surah Yaseen, which one definition we gave is that it is known as the heart of the Qur'an. Aside from that, the other names given to Surah Yaseen is Azima as well. Now this is Surah Azima, an auspicious great surah. Mu'imma, that it is a very general surah of the Quran as well. It is also known as Mudafa'a, as it acts as a protection from evil and harm, and also known as Qaziya, as whoever recites this can make things fall in their favor. These are the various names given because of the benefits. We show that they are given these names because of the benefits that lie within the surah. And in another riwayat it is mentioned that this is Shafi'ah. And the person who recites it is Sharif. And that whoever recites this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant them the intercession on the day of Qiyamah. And so many will be granted this intercession more than the Qabila Rabi'ah. Rabi'ah is a large clan. So many will be blessed with the shafaat on the day of Qiyamah. And there are others who have mentioned various fazilat themselves. This is from the riwayat, as there are those who have mentioned from the fazilat of it. Yahya bin Kathir has mentioned as well, that whatever hajat need a person has, person recites the Surah Yaseen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will fulfill that hajat and that need of that individual. And he says that I have heard this and I narrate this from a person who himself has experienced this. Because there are many surahs in the Quran, and many ayat of the Quran, which have various virtues to it or benefits to it. But it is only when a person then experiences themselves, has the practice of reciting them, then they'll realize that, oh yes, this has helped me. Let's say when there is some hardship and calamity, whether it is individual or whether it is universal, what do people do? They do khatam of Surah Yaseen. They recite Surah Yaseen. And the reason they recite Surah Yaseen is because of the benefits of it, because it is qaziya and mudafa, that it protects a person from calamities, and it helps and assists the person in whatever their needs are. So this is how auspicious Surah Yaseen is. And elsewhere, as I mentioned, Nabi Sallallahu mentions as well, that recite it to the deceased. So if a person wants to do Isal Estab, recite Surah Yaseen to deceased. And that person who makes this a regular practice of reciting Surah Yaseen on a daily basis, they will benefit from the fazilat for themselves. But along with that, if they recite it as well and they send it as sawab, then the deceased, they will also get the sawab and they will also get reward for it as well. And this is what should be recited if a person does go to the graveside as well. Then recite Surah Yaseen for the deceased, they will benefit from it. And the person who recites it benefits themselves. But as I mentioned many times before, to recite Surah Yaseen for the deceased, you do not need to go to the grave to recite it. You can read it from wherever you are. It is when a person goes there and does ziyarat of the qubur, then recite Surah Yaseen there. But not that you have to go there in order to recite it. So these are some of the virtues of fazilat of Surah Yaseen. And it is called Surah Yaseen because this is the opening words of the surah as well, where Allah Ta'ala begins with Yaseen. And Yaseen, as we know, as we mentioned now many times in the Quran, these are from the huruf-e-muqatta'at. Meaning these are those letters, the correct meaning and words, the correct meaning of which only Allah Ta'ala knows. Wherever in the Quran you have Hamim, Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Ra, etc. These are those meanings that only Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala knows the full correct meaning of these. And the fact that we do not know what the meaning is also indicates that there isn't anything that is depriving us. Meaning that there isn't anything in it that without knowing that it will prevent us from practicing our deen or our aqidah or so. So it is something which we do not know the meaning of. There are those mufassirin of that opinion that Yaseen is from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the auspicious names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Yaseen is from the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then there is opinion that Yaseen in actual fact is an Ethiopian word. And the meaning of it means, O person, O man. And by O man, O person, it refers was Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Hence there are those who are of the opinion that Yaseen is from the names of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala alayhi sallam. And now the correct meaning of this is one that we are not aware of. Further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Yaseen wal Qur'an al-Hakim. Allah Ta'ala here takes an oath on the Qur'an, Hakim, the wise, by the oath of the wise and the powerful Qur'an. And where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to emphasize on something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings it with an oath. So here Allah Ta'ala has taken an oath on the Qur'an. And the Qur'an which is Hakim, which is wise. So by the oath of the wise Qur'an, means that how powerful the Qur'an is, and how much hikmat and wisdom there is in the Qur'an itself. But unfortunately, we do not understand the Qur'an, we do not study the Qur'an, and because we do not understand or study the Qur'an, we don't even know what's in the Qur'an. And this is how unfortunate that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us such a powerful book. Such a powerful book. And there are those who have actually studied the Qur'an in a very different light and have actually produced as well, the booklets of this as well, the various miracles of the Qur'an. Just the formats of the wording of the Qur'an, the amount of time certain words have come in the Qur'an as well. And those numerical mention of the Qur'an, they will just show you what an amazing miracle the Qur'an is. What an amazing miracle the Qur'an is. But as I mentioned, we have not studied the Qur'an, so we do not really understand the Qur'an. So the Qur'an is what Qur'an al-Hakim, wise. إِنَّكَ لَمِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed you, referring to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, are verily among the Anbiya. So this is also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is now mentioning with regard to the prophethood of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Because the Quran, after all, and every divine book is sent to the Anbiya alayhi salatu salam, ala sirati mustaqim, on the straight path. Which shows us that the path of the Quran, the path of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam, this is the Sirat al-Mustaqim. If we want to be on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, which we always ask from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every rakat, Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. So what is the Sirat al-Mustaqim? The Sirat al-Mustaqim is the path of the Quran and the Sunnah of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Any other way and path aside from that is not the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Tanzeel al-Aziz al-Rahim. A revelation, Tanzeel revelation, Al-Aziz, mighty, Rahim, the most merciful. I mean, the Quran has come from where? The Quran is a revelation of the mighty and the most merciful. These are the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we mentioned, that look as the eloquency of the Quran. The eloquency of the Quran. In the translation, you do not grasp or you do not really understand the eloquency of it. But when a person reads it itself, a person when they recite Surah Yaseen or any part of the Quran, maybe Surah Yaseen, you just enjoy reading the surah, the Arabic itself. But when it comes to the wordings itself, there is great eloquency in this surah, as well as the Quran itself. Because this is what revelation by who? None other than Aziz al-Rahim. And the word of the Aziz al-Rahim is going to be very different and exclusive to any other words. لِتُنْذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنْذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. Allah Ta'ala says, لِتُنْذِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنْذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. What is the purpose of the Quran? Why did Allah Ta'ala reveal the Quran? لِتُنْذِرَ. To warn qawman, such a nation, that مَا أُنْذِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ, whose forefathers were not warned. فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ, and who were negligent. This refers towards the Quraysh, it refers towards the Arabs. That Allah Ta'ala says that the Quran was revealed to the Arabs, whose forefathers were not warned previously. Meaning that from the time of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, from that time onwards, no Nabi had been sent to the Arabs. Although in between Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu salam had come, but to the Arabs itself, it was Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam and Sayyidina Ismail alayhi salatu salam, who was from the Anbiya of the Arabs, that no Nabi had come to the Quraysh or to the Arabs until Nabi sallallahu ta'ala sallam. So for that reason Allah Ta'ala says, لِتُنْزِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنْزِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ, that nation who had not been warned, forefathers were not warned. And here warning refers was by a Nabi. Meaning a great period of time had passed amongst them wherein no Nabi had come to them. It just shows what plight they were in, what situation, what condition they were in. Although no Nabi had come to them, and although this is specific for the Arabs, but with the usul and the rule of the Quran is that what can be general will be generalized as well. So it refers to that any nation upon whom no Nabi had been sent, because those nations upon whom a Nabi had been sent, for example to Sayyidina Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, already from them, that time to the time of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, over 500 years had passed anyway. The period of Fatara, that period wherein no Nabi had been sent was already over 500 years. So one can just imagine the plight of people during that period of time. And here, although it is mentioned that no Nabi had been sent to them, but مَا مِنْ أُمَّةٍ إِلَّا خَلَا فِيهَا نَذِيرٌ. Allah Ta'ala mentions that every nation had a Nadhir that was sent to them, and this is a verse that we had done very recently as well, which means that although no Nabi had come to them, but a Nadhir had definitely come to them, and that is the case with every nation as well. That there will always be those individuals or people or those remnants of the previous Anbiya alayhi salatu salam that remained within the people. So at all times there's always been those who have actually warned the people. So it isn't a case of no message of divine message or any good advice had ever come to them. That had always come to them in the form of righteous people or whatever ta'limat, like for instance Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. From the mushrikeen of Makkah, even amongst them, there were still some remnants of the teachings of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. And there were also those few individuals who were actually on the deen Hanif, the deen of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam amongst the Quraysh. So that is those things which will remain. But there is nothing more substantial and enforcing than that of the actual coming of the Nabi itself. So you can have those people who give advice and mentioning advice to people, but the Nabi himself coming, that has a total different effect on the people. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, لِتُنْزِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنْزِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ, and what happened from that is فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. So Allah Ta'ala says, who are therefore negligent. Why? Because no Nadhir had come to them. And this is the same. I mean, what is it now? You can just imagine the task in hand on Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. That when Nabi Kareem sallallahu, and when a person studies the plight of the mushrikeen of Makkah prior to Islam, then you just know how difficult it was for Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. How far they were from any divine religion, from goodness itself. And that is what Nabi sallallahu faced. But Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam remained steadfast and he gave the message to the people. So لِتُنْزِرَ قَوْمًا مَا أُنْزِرَ آبَاؤُهُمْ. And the other is the effect of no Nabi coming to them is that فَهُمْ غَافِلُونَ. So they were negligent. Meaning that they disregarded their duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what happens. Because at the whole period of time, no Nabi came to them, so they were living their lives how they wanted to. And after the Anbiya alayhi salatu salam, the ulama are the heirs of the Anbiya alayhi salatu salam. And wherever there has been ulama residing and ulama doing their job of amal bil ma'ruf nahi munkar, people have still remained on their deen. And where there is no longer any ulama, or there is areas, places of the world where there is no ulama, or ulama forgo this duty of theirs, then the effect of that is, the consequences of that is, for whom ghafilun, that people will become negligent, become neglectful, they will disregard their duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what we find around the world as well, where there is an ulama, or where the ulama restricted themselves, you can say, or did not really carry out, or maybe by means of governments even, rulers, they could not carry out their duty of the being the heirs of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam. Then what happens? People fall into negligence. They become neglectful, they just Muslims by name, and nothing further than that. لَقَدْ حَقَّ الْقَوْلُ عَلَىٰ أَكْثَرِهِمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. Then Allah subhanahu mentions, لَقَدْ حَقَّ الْقَوْلُ. The decision has been passed against who? عَلَىٰ أَكْثَرِهِمْ. Against most of them, that فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, that they will not have iman. Meaning that the decision has been made for many of those from the negligent people and from those of the Quraysh as well, that فَهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ, that they will not bring iman. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of their lack of interest and because of their staunch kufr, it has already been destined that they will not have iman. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ أَغْلَالًا فَهِيَ إِلَى الْأَذْقَانِ فَهُمْ مُقْمَحُونَ وَجَعَلْنا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. Allah Ta'ala mentions that the consequences of those who die without iman is that إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ أَغْلَالًا, that we shall place a collar around their necks. فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ, neck, أغلال is a collar. فَهِيَ إِلَى الْأَذْقَانِ, which will reach to their chins. فَهُمْ مُقْمَحُونَ, so that their gazes are fixed. Muqmahun is that when a person's gazes is fixed, and that too upwards. That because of their arrogance here in this world, on the day of Qiyamah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place upon them such a collar around their necks, that from the bottom to the top it will reach their chin, in such a manner that they will not be able to lower their heads and look down at all. So their gazes will remain fixed upwards all the time, meaning that they will be confined. And وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا. And we have placed a barrier. Saddan means a barrier. مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ, in front of them. وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا, and a barrier behind them. فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ, and we have enveloped them. فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ, so they cannot see. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions two punishments upon them, but these two punishments are actually a resemblance of how they were here in this world. That by mentioning this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually mentioning how these people were in this world. That in this world they were such like that person whose gaze was always upwards. So the person whose gazes are always upwards is not going to be able to see the straight path because they cannot see what is in front of them. And these people were the same as well, meaning out of their arrogance. They didn't want to look at Islam, they didn't want to look at the Qur'an, they didn't want to know about the Akhirah. So because of that, they didn't want to know what is around them. So they themselves deprived themselves of the right path by not looking at the right path. So that is what. So Allah Ta'ala gives this resemblance as well, that look, because of that, this will be their punishment, that on the day of Qiyamah as well, they won't be able to look ahead of them. Just the way they didn't do so. And the other is, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا, that we will place a barrier in front of them, behind them as well, and envelope them. that similarly a person who is confined to one room, for example, or a person who is confined to a box can still look ahead, but they're depriving themselves of what is out of the box. As we say, a person doesn't think out of the box. So this is what it means. This is the box that Allah is mentioning. So there are those who only looked on top, nothing at all. And there are those who did look, but they didn't look far ahead. So they just confined themselves in that box of kufr, for instance. They didn't want to know what the truth really is. So because of this, and this is what Imam Razi Rahmatullahi also mentions, that there is one that is in the control that you do yourself, that you don't want to look down. And the other is that you do look ahead, but you do not fully look ahead as well. And according to that, this is the punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place upon them on the day of Qiyamah. And Allah Ta'ala gives this as an example, that this is the example of the darkness of the kufr and sin, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took away from them the ability to actually look towards the truth or to perceive and to understand what the truth is. This is the correct tafseer of these verses. Under the tafseer of وَجَعَلْنَا مِن بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا, there is certain incidents that had taken place during the time of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And some Mufassirin have actually linked them with this verse, although that link is a weak link. And one of the incidents is the known incident of when the Quraysh had planned to assassinate Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They made different plans at different occasions, but this was during the time when Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam wanted to migrate as well, and they had surrounded the house of Nabi Kareem sallallahu ta'ala sallam. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had told Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala to sleep in his bed. They thought that it was Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reciting this verse managed to creep out in such a manner that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah concealed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala from the gazes of the disbelievers. So the waqia, the incident is there. But this verse wasn't specifically revealed for that reason or for that purpose. So there isn't that link there actually. And this is what the actual purpose of this is. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that وَسَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. That it is the same to them, meaning that it makes no difference to them. Whether you warn them, أَمْ لَمْ تُنذِرْهُمْ, or you do not warn them, لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. They will never have iman. Meaning in every condition they're not going to have iman. And this is because of their pride. And the definition of pride is batarul haqq. One of the definitions of pride is that a person that rejects the truth. Why they reject the truth? Not because they don't believe in the truth, but because of their pride and their arrogance. They don't want to accept what the truth is. You know you've done something wrong. Somebody knows that what they're doing is wrong, but they don't want to accept it. Why? Because this is out of pride. So many of the disbelievers are those who know that Islam, and amongst the Quraysh as well. They knew that Islam was the truth. They knew about the Prophet of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but because of their pride they didn't want to bring iman. So this is why Allah Ta'ala says that whether you had warned them or not, whether you warned them, it makes no difference to them whatsoever. إِنَّمَا تُنذِرُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الذِّكْرَ وَخَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ فَبَشِّرْهُ بِمَغْفِرَةٍ وَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ. And if that is the case, then you may wonder to yourself, what's the point of Allah Ta'ala sending a Nazir if they are not going to take warning from it? Why did Allah Ta'ala send a prophet for? Allah Ta'ala says that it isn't a case of nobody is going to benefit. إِنَّمَا تُنذِرُ مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الذِّكْرَ. That إِنَّمَا تُنذِرُ, you can only warn who? مَنِ اتَّبَعَ الذِّكْرَ. Those who follow the advice, وَخَشِيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ, and who fears Ar-Rahman without seeing him. These are the believers. That it is them that who you will be able to warn, and they will take and heed that warning, and due to which they will stay away from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَبَشِّرْهُ بِمَغْفِرَةٍ وَأَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ. Hence, فَبَشِّرْهُ, give them the good news of forgiveness, وَأَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ, and a bountiful provision. So for them is the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the ajr is the reward of the hereafter. Inna nahnu nuhyil mawta wa naktubu ma qaddamu wa atharahum wa kulla shay'in ahsaynahu fi imamin mubin. Further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, Inna nahnu nuhyil mawta. Verily we revive the dead. Nuhyil mawta. Wa naktubu, and we record ma qaddamu wa atharahum, what they send ahead and the effects that they leave behind. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. And everything is recorded فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ, in the clear book. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ, that everything has been recorded فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ, in the clear book, meaning the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that Inna nahnu nuhyil mawta, verily we revive the dead. Meaning that when a person dies here in this world, then in the hereafter Allah ta'ala will revive the dead. And they are those people who وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم, they have sent ahead. وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم, and record, وَنَكْتُبُ, and we write and we record what the actions of that which مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم, which has been sent forward. Now this refers to both believers and non-believers, good doers and non-good doers, evil doers. That whatever deeds a person does here in this world, وَنَكْتُبُ, first of all it is recorded. And then مَا قَدَّمُوا indicates that which you send ahead. Meaning that whatever a person does here, you are sending that forward in the hereafter, where either a person will be rewarded or a person will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something that we forget. Because here you do a crime, you know that look, immediately you get the penalty, you get arrested, there's a punishment, the consequences are immediate here in this world. But these consequences of the akhirat, we don't see it now. You disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in a couple of days you don't receive a letter in the post saying that look, you are caught disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the penalty is 5 years in Jahannam. And then again you disobey Allah ta'ala, another notice comes, there's so many years in the fire of Jahannam, another notice, and this azab or that azab. We don't get any notice at all. And because we don't get any notice, we do not take notice to this. And we just carry on disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not realizing that whatever we do, we're sending it that forward. It's all been accounted there in the hereafter. Similarly here, you do something, you go to work, you see the fruits of going to work, you earn, you get paid, and you get paid, you see the fruits of the work that you have done, whatever you've labored and toiled, you see the fruits of it. With regards to the akhirat and the ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever you toil and whatever you do, we do not see the seeds of it. We sat here now, the tafsir, after the tafsir, anything? There's no handouts, but you sat here, iPhone for you, or this for you, Ultra for you, or this for you, or that for you, this for you, that for you. Nothing like that at all. Or neither do we see now any balance. Okay, you got so much reward, so much reward, so much reward. Like we're going, these are the days of the Zil-Hijjah, and we hear so many times, these are those days. There's no action more greatly beloved. The days are more auspicious than the month of Ramadan even. Whatever deeds a person does, the nights are so auspicious as well. So much reward that is there. So many are going and will be going for Hajj. Millions will be going for Hajj, they'll be doing the Hajj and everything. But do they see any reward? Nobody sees any reward. We read Asr Salat, no reward, we haven't seen the reward. But the reward is there. And the reward is وَنَكْتُبُ, recorded, مَا قَدَّمُوا, and it is sent ahead. So it is all being sent ahead to the akhirat. And this is the yaqeen that we should have. And not only that, but وَآثَارَهُمْ, Allah Ta'ala mentions, and also the athar of it, meaning the trails that they leave behind. That is also left behind. So one is وَنَكْتُبُ مَا قَدَّمُوا, whatever deeds we do here, it is sent forward in the hereafter for us. A good way of understanding this is where people may have foreign banking, or there are many individuals who, for example, live here in this country, But they still have ties back home. And because they have ties back home, what do? They build a home. They want to build a house in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh or so. So what do? That whenever they're earning a little money here and there, they save. And what do? They transfer it over. They send that money over, isn't it? They're always sending money over to Pakistan, to India, Pakistan and India. And what they're sending it over for? So that they can build a house there. They're not seeing that money. That money is being reduced and they're just sending it over. But they don't mind sending that money over because they know that something is being built for them over there. So although they know that from whatever wages they have, they might be sending half away so that's half less for them. But they know, never mind, when we go to India, we've got a house there, we've got a mansion there. When we go to Pakistan as well, we've got the England wali ka koti, isn't it? We've got the big koti there, big palace there, mansion there, and people will say this is all the London people's homes, isn't it? And some of us have those kotis there just so that people can say this is a lambi. People will say, this person has been so many years in London and still doesn't have a koti here. So just for the sake of it, nobody goes there, nobody lives there. It's just the insects and the cobwebs and all the spiders that are living there. It is just there for, and this happens. And when in India as well, when I was in Deoband, then when I went to the Gujarat, to the village in there as well. So people would say as well, that this is Farafala's house and then there's some would even comment and say, but he's never been here at all. But ban para raha. He just closed, shut, and big, huge, beautiful house. And the homes they have there are much better than your terrace homes and the houses you have here in England. A lot better. But they don't go there. But they don't mind, they send the money over, knowing that look, there's a house there, whenever we need it, it is there at least. So here as well, whatever we do here is going there forward for our villa in Jannat, inshallah. For the palace that we have, the koti that we have, or not just one, but multiple, if Allah wills. And the hereafter. And that is what Allah Ta'ala is mentioning, وَنَكْتُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُم. And so Nabi Kareem Sallallahu mentions that when Ibn Adam passes away and he dies, in qadat amaluhu illa thalath, his days come to an end, but three things continue, and this is wa'atharahum. Because the further Allah Ta'ala mentions wa'atharahum means the trails that they leave behind. This has two meanings for it. One is the trails of whatever good deeds they have done here in this world. And one of that is that look, his amal comes to an end. But three things continue. Ilmun yuntafu bihin nas. That knowledge that a person leaves behind that people are still benefiting from, that is one. Waladun salihun yad'u lahu, a righteous child that makes dua for the parents. And the third is sadaqatun jariyah, tunfu, sadaqah jariyah. So these are three things the Mr. mentioned that a person's amal come to an end, but where you do sadaqah jariyah, you give towards a masjid, a madrasa. And as long as that masjid madrasa continues, you're going to get the reward for it in your grave. This is also atharahum. You left behind good children. They did good deeds. They made dua for the parents. You continue to get the reward for it, whatever good deeds they do. You left behind knowledge. And people are now benefiting from that knowledge. So because of that, you're still getting the reward for it in the grave. This is atharahum. And the atharun here also refers towards the physical signs as well. For example, in the hadith where Nabi Kareem mentions that there was the Banu Salama who lived on the outskirts of Medina Munawwara, and when they came to know that there is some land near Masjid Nabawi, so they wanted to move closer to Masjid Nabawi so they could come be close to Masjid Nabawi. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he heard of it, he said to them, the Banu Salama, atharukum tubta diyarukum. Atharukum diyarukum tuktub atharukum. That stay where you are. Because as you walk from there, that footsteps of yours will be recorded on the day of Qiyamah. That each time you come from the distance where you are to the masjid, that's going to be recorded on the day of Qiyamah. So this is wa'atharahum. This is what it means that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam refers to this here. That whatever good deeds you do here, wherever you do those good deeds, that land, that area will also give testimony on the day of Qiyamah. You are leaving behind good deeds in so many places. Or wherever else you've left such, you've donated to a masjid here, there, everywhere, an orphanage and wherever not. These are the athar that a person leaves behind of the good that they have done. As one occasion, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu, one person passed through in Medina Munawwara, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam performed the Salat Janazah, and after Nabi Sallallahu mentioned that if only this person had passed away from his birthplace. If only he had passed away from his birthplace. This is the riwayat of Ahmad. The Sahaba asked, oh, why do you say that? The Nabi Kareem Sallallahu mentioned that that person who passes away from his birthplace, from where he passed away, meaning from his birthplace till his last steps, meaning where he passed away, that will be measured and that will be the size of his Jannah. That will be the size of his Jannah. Meaning that person who passes away in foreign land somewhere away from home, that will be measured on the day of Qiyamah. So this is what وَآثَارَهُمْ, that will be taken into consideration as well. So that is one, the actual athar as the trail of good that a person does. But remember here in this verse, this is referring towards both good and bad deeds. So all the footsteps was ma'asiyat, that is also recorded here as well. All the places that a person might have established, various places of wrong, that is also recorded and everything here. As in the hadith, the Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions that whoever initiates a good deed, man sanna sunnatan hasana. So whoever initiates a good deed and he practices upon it, he'll get the reward of it. And he will also get the reward of that person who follows that good deed, without there being any deficiency in the reward of that person as well. So for instance, a person establishes a good practice, not a bid'ah, a good practice. Or a person establishes a masjid, for instance. So that person will get the reward of it. And then whoever utilizes it and continues as well, they will get their reward, and the one who initiated it will also continue to get the reward. And Nabi Sallallahu mentioned nobody will be deprived, meaning that because the next person, his reward will go to the first person, he'll be deprived. He'll get his reward and the first person will continue to get his reward as well. But at the same time, man sanna sunnatan sayyi'ah, whoever initiates an evil trait, an innovation, evil bad custom, establishes a nightclub, for example, or any such type of places of vice, he'll get the punishment for it. Whoever goes there, they will get the punishment for going there, and by them going there, the punishment of that will come back to the initial person who established it and opened that place. Or starts a wrong practice within the family, a custom which is wrong. So any wrong, or if there's something good practice that we establish within our homes, our families, then those who continue with it, we get the reward of it as well. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recited this verse as well, إِنَّا نَحْنُ الْمَوْتَى وَنَكْتُ مَا قَدَّمُوا وَآثَارَهُمْ. So these refer to both good and bad deeds. So whatever bad will be recorded and good will be recorded as well. وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. And everything, Allah Ta'ala says, it is miraculously what recorded, that Allah Ta'ala has recorded everything in the clear book. Meaning in the Lawh al-Mahfuz, everything is preserved and everything is recorded. And this is nothing far-fetched at all. Now you see so many things. You have, just a couple of days ago I was remembering, we have our CCTV systems. And those CCTV systems are now such that, depending on your hard drive, you can store on it up to constantly, up to 3 months, unless you save it, 3 months of footage. And that is CCTV of what every second. So much data can be recorded. Where in the past, before, it was a case of you used to have the VCR recorders, and for every day you used to have you had to put a new cassette in. So I remember our initial system that we had was the case. So you had the whole seven video tapes with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday written on it. And they would last, you put it on a setting and they would last for 24 hours. So each, after 24 hours, Monday take out, for Tuesday put the next one, and then by next Monday, that's it. You put the next Monday back in, so it's all wiped out again, so you've only got it for a week. So every day you would have to change it. So now we have such type of memory that is there, and that records so much amount of memory that is available and stores so much information. So when that is the case, and this is nothing far-fetched at all, for every aspect of every part of our life, for it to be recorded there in memory, and here the recording in the memory is what? Fi Imam Mubin, meaning the clear book, meaning the Lawh Mahfuz. That is where all the data is stored. Such data which encrypted. So that you can't meddle with, you can't mess with at all, you can't change at all, you can't delete at all. And there won't be any malfunction, anything like that at all. It's all every person's record, everything is there, every aspect, every part of that person's life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us all to do such good deeds, that we leave behind a legacy of good deeds as well. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.